Thanks for joining us once again. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today we focus on Tesla's Hail Mary when it comes to FSD in China. We also focus on the fact that Tesla actually has a number of on-the-shelf issues that are transitioning the company right now towards more profitable and successful future. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So I was thrilled. We did a show probably a month and a half ago about the fact that while Tesla stock price was down, there are a number of things that could influence positively the stock of the company. So obviously the August announcements that Elon plans for FSD were the initial push up for the stock price. Obviously we got some numbers initially that weren't that great, but that as you look through them, they look kind of good. And therefore we had analysts upgrading that were working with longs or investors who are more long oriented. And we also had clearly, Elon going to China was impressive in terms of what the outcome was. So I just want to remind you, we've seen a lot of China's in trouble, deep trouble, bad things happening. A large number of sort of negative Chinese stories have come out. And you have to say those are legit when you watch some of the real estate companies that have gone under over there. The thing, though, is that there's an interesting relationship between Tesla and China that remains and was highlighted in the past week as they helped Tesla's stock price all the way back up to 200, and it's given back maybe half of the gain, but it still seems to be doing pretty well. And that was the fact that the Chinese are basically willing to embrace an FSD move by Tesla. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that, wait a second, China was, with the Shanghai plant, was one of the first entities to basically save Tesla and allow it to grow into what it is today. Their willingness to offer loans to help build that facility helped Tesla move out of somewhat of a dark and not going well period for the company into the success that we're enjoying now. Now, are the Chinese taking a risk here? I'd say they are, but there's a rule in China that I think is fascinating to watch how it's going to work out. And that is, we do some things that aren't perfect or weren't working perfectly, but part of the game, what we're about is job creation. So as you've noticed, Tesla's in the main plant is about a 30,000 employee entity, when we're running a full week shifts with some extras. This doesn't include what the Shanghai facility provides work-wise in terms of suppliers that have come into the office park that Tesla is currently working in. So therefore, we're in a situation where Tesla, from a Chinese standpoint or a Chinese government standpoint or a CCP standpoint, gets an A+. They're building and selling cars within the United States. Those cars are being shipped or were being shipped, possibly still are being shipped to other parts of Asia as well as into Europe. So this gives China opportunities to expand its workforce based on increased employment at home. We don't have, Tesla is vertically integrated. We don't have the numbers on it, but there are other Tesla suppliers that are in their office park as well as shipping in parts from all over the country that go into the cars that are being built. So China basically has a rule: if you're helping us achieve or you're helping us get what we want to do, we'll help you get where you want to be. So this brings in the whole question of FSD now and Tesla being able to go to advanced process of full service driving that aren't being allowed elsewhere because the Chinese appreciate the other things that Tesla does well, especially namely job creation. And so they're therefore willing to ride with Tesla harder than we might see in the United States. And I think the success of how that's used once it's implemented in China will influence Europe and America to look at shifting how they view the work that Tesla is doing in the FSD space. So congratulations to Tesla, congratulations to China. We need for this thing to work, please, so that we have new source of revenue and possibilities for the company. I would say for those of you who have access to Elon, for the US market, it'd be great to see Tesla use the Las Vegas loop that was created as part of their underground digging operations to uh, to go ahead and start using FSD there as an illustration of the possibilities so that now we can have domestic and international customers go to that facility in order to determine uh, how to do what they're supposed to be doing. So I would like to, I wanted to, have something to say. Obviously, we did have something to say. Stock prices moved up. I would say that the challenge, though, is you could argue that there are sort of two types of investors. They're the kinds that are willing to look at the future as looking better and then going for that money. There's another type of investor out there, which is the, hey, can you add to my quarterly earnings? And now I can modify all the data that's associated with that company so that I can pump it up. I might pump it down depending on what those data look like. And obviously, two different groups. Um, I'm hoping that we end up both of them being satiated here so we can move forward on this. You know, the last thing I was thinking about as I was coming into the show was the there's a famous old song, and one of the lines in that song is, uh, "And which way do we go from here? Which way is the way that's clear? Still looking for that blue jean baby queen, prettiest girl I ever seen. See your chick on the movie screen, Billie Jean." And so I mentioned that song to you because we are in a zone there where which way are we going? Is Elon serious about this company doing well? Is he too busy with other assignments to really emphasize the type of things that get this thing moving at a very high and rapid pace? And the answer is that we're finding out now. If he's willing to fly to China to get things rolling, I think that's a great statement. The next thing, I think it's a great statement, and I'm hopeful that we see some of the things we talked about, perhaps an acquisition, a Lucid to give us a top end, perhaps opening facilities that allow us to offer sort of a tiered service like Lexus versus regular Toyota. I think it's desperately needed. Doesn't exist, but it allows per car profitability to rise and overall revenue for the company to rise. The one last thing that I think is a question mark that I think is fascinating that's sneaking in under the covers, but I think is huge, and that is that the 4680 battery. Now, as you know, the 2170 has been the primary battery used. When they originally tried to use the 4680 battery, there were issues with it. And so what I'm fascinated by now is that we're not hearing anything about it, but Tesla isn't allowing buyers to know whether or not they have 2170s or 4680s in their vehicles. But from a lot of the literature I've been reading, that 4680 is in action. And one of the great parts of it is weight reduction that comes by using the batteries as part of the under platform of the car. But also, there are other features built into it that allow Tesla to systematically lower its cost of goods sold and therefore make more money per vehicle. I think the combination of drop in lithium prices and the more widely used 4680 is part of why Tesla surprised on the margins that they were here. So I wanted to review these issues for you this week. Look forward to any comments you might have. I think Tesla's on an upswing, and I'm hopeful that we can get vehicles out there like the Semi that can sop up some of the unused manpower that's resulted in sort of slowing down production to have production and demand meet each other. So finally, I'd like to say this is the end of our regular session. We're moving over now to our usual health tips. Just to, you know, I was surprised. I ran into a person this week that owns a series of, she's an esthetician and has several facilities. And I don't know if you've looked at it, I've never heard of this or looked at it, but she was talking about the advantages of hair removal. You know, swimmers, runners, there are different groups that have found this to be helpful in their activities. Obviously, a lot of ladies do it as well, but I just thought I'd throw it out there as something one might consider also in your sort of health process to look at benefits or no. I don't do it. I don't have any expertise in that space, but I didn't realize that there are health benefits one might consider by hair removal. So it might be something to consider as well. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us. Tschüss, au revoir, lehitro, choda hafiz, draziche, ni hao ma, kambawa. And in Jamaica we say, no respect, walk good. Namaste, arrivederci. Thanks once again for joining us. Have a great day and bye for now.